Christian Leroux, an 8-year-old boy who aspires to be the best football player in the world and make the national team, appears in the opening scene. He is a big fan of Cristiano Ronaldo and wants to be like him. Christian's mother Kathleen supports him and believes in him. That he must first learn to walk before he can jump, so she encourages him to first prove himself to the coach because his father, George, is currently serving in the United States Army and fighting in Afghanistan. We are introduced to Frank, a cringe-inducing neighbor who frequently hits on Kathleen. His two sons, Donald and Ed, go to the same football practice club as Christian, so Christian helps the boy get to and from school. Christian is dominated by his sons, who believe he will never be able to match their levels. Christian is given a chance by their coach Dominic to become the team's new striker, but he fails to impress the coach because he doesn't score a single goal. Christian is devastated and confides in his mother, who reminds him of his father's words, "Never give up, for it brings success, and that is the best revenge later at home." Christian is practicing penalty kicks when he accidentally kicks the ball to the property of another neighbor, destroying his plants and angering the elderly neighbor. The boy apologizes and says he wants to be the best football player in the world, but Christian is told by the man who doesn't like football to keep the ball and his dream away from him. In the next scene, Dominic's football team, Northern Stars, competes in a tournament with the children's parents cheering them on. As usual, Frank doesn't want Christian to play, so he convinces Dominic to keep him as a substitute for the first half, when their team performs poorly, which causes the coach gets stressed out during halftime, so he reminds them to use the triangle strategy and short passes to move forward and score. He also tries to get the team motivated before the second half starts, but the team doesn't do well because playtime is coming to an end. Dominic, to everyone's surprise, decides to replace Donald with Christian. He plays very well, but he can't score. Luckily, their team gets a penalty, and they score to tie the game at 1-1. After the game is over and everyone leaves, the coach praises Christian for his performance, saying that he played like a champ. On the other hand, we see George and his army force in action. They appear to be surrounded by enemies, and to make matters worse, their commander is seriously injured and very close to being injured. The soldiers are slowly losing hope, but George continues to care for his comrades, assuring them that he will never leave anyone behind. In the midst of all of this, George looks at a picture of his wife and son, which makes him feel sad. After dropping her son off at school the following morning, Kathleen is driving back home when she gets a call from Sergeant William Scott. Scott tells her that her husband is missing in action and that, shocked by the sudden news, Kathleen becomes distracted and crashes her car later. That evening, Christian, who was waiting for his mother at school, is picked up by Frank, who immediately takes him to the hospital. The boy is devastated to learn that his mother is in a critical condition. He is left with Frank until his mother recovers, but he is treated very badly, forced to live in an abandoned basement, and even made to do all the housework. One day, Frank notices that Christian needs new football boots, so he takes him to a sports store, but the store owner shows Christian the best options. Frank makes it clear that Christian is not his son, so he wants the cheapest shoes. The store owner then gives Christian a pair of strange-looking golden shoes, but Christian doesn't care and is happy with what he gets. One day, Christian is practicing alone in the shoes. Kathleen is fortunate to be under the supervision of a caring and generous nurse named Mary White. In addition to taking care of Kathleen, Mary White also encourages Kathleen to be strong for her child, claiming that a mother's strength is the only way to lift a child's spirit. A few days later, he is taken aback when he finds himself shooting the ball all like a pro at the hospital. The Northern Stars are playing another game, and if they win it, they will be able to play in the tournament's finals, which means they will be able to play in the regional state championship games. However, when the first half is over, the team stops playing, and Dominic decides to use Christian instead of Frank's son for the second half. Dominic is well aware of what he is doing, and Frank plays the dirty game by blackmailing the coach into returning the money that he appears to have lent in the past. However, Dominic refuses, and allows Christian to play. Dominic's decision proves to be a game-changer, as Christian scores one goal after another. Christian's only friend Julian, who is the goalkeeper for Northern Stars, compliments him on his performance and encourages him to stay strong for his mother. On the other hand, Frank, who is envious of the boy, makes him do the dishes, prevents him from seeing his mother, and even forbids him from calling her after a few games. The coach, who whispers "I found my striker" after the game, is impressed by his incredible performance. Christian's abilities begin to blossom, and he leads his team to numerous victories, much to the delight of his coach, who, throughout his life, has felt like a loser but now feels like a winner because of the young boy. Gradually, the boy's incredible game attracts the attention of news reporters, and his picture appears in the newspaper at the hospital Mary shows. The newspaper to Kathleen, who is very proud of her son. She then tries to get in touch with him, but a jealous Frank cuts her off. A night before the final tournament match, Dominic calls a scout from the national team named Mitch and asks him to watch Christian's match in the finals. Christian goes above and beyond, leading the team to victory and impressing Mitch exactly as the coach had predicted. As the days go on, Christian's popularity continues to rise, and Kathleen enjoys watching him on television, which makes her very happy. In contrast, Frank is dissatisfied with the boy's success and devises a plan to bring him down one day. Christian is practicing alone when he wonders if his ability has improved solely due to the golden shoes. She is also emotional because she wishes George could see their son's performance. He practices penalty kicks in both of his available pairs. Surprisingly, he shoots perfectly in the golden shoes, whereas all of his shots from the standard pair are awkward, as Frank's eavesdropping reveals. The secret and intends to steal Christian's golden shoes. He tries to persuade Christian by giving him a new pair and even tries to steal them while Christian is sleeping, but his efforts are fruitless. Christian is a kind kid who prays for his parents. Soon the regional state championship games begin, and Christian, with his amazing skills, leads the team to numerous victories, eventually leading the team to the finals for the first time. His exceptional performance raises the boy's profile, putting him on the front pages of newspapers and magazines, but Frank's health is also at stake. One day, Kathleen calls Frank to inquire about the well-being of her son. However, despite Christian being right in front of him, Frank refuses to let the two speak anywhere else. Christian's popularity reaches the door of the United States President, who is informed about the boy and his parents' current situation. After hearing all of this, the president decides to support the boy and holds a press conference in which he tells Christian's sincere story. He also says he will do everything in his power to find Christian's father and bring him back so that he can watch Christian play in the championship game that is coming up. At the same time, Mary gives Kathleen a motivational speech about how she needs to get on her crutches and get to her son's game soon after she is visited by the president's secretary, who tells her that the president supports her son in the next scene. The president holds another press conference to announce the good news of the Mia's rescue and their safety. He also announces the names of the Mias, one of whom is George LaRue. Kathleen, who is watching the news on television, is thrilled. We see another group of army forces sent in search of their lost soldiers. Fortunately, they are able to locate the Mias and safely board them home. The president declares that he has a football game to catch on the day of the regional state championship finals because he believes this is a heroic story, and if it does not inspire a nation, he does not know what will. Christian gets ready, but just as he's about to leave his basement room, he finds out that Frank, who also stole the golden shoes, has locked him in there. Thankfully, the football-hating neighbor's dog wakes up its owner, who comes over to see what all the fuss is about through. He asks Christian why he should help him and the boy writes, "You are my angel." This touches the man's heart, so he immediately breaks the window glass and pulls Christian out. When the man realizes he is late for his soccer game, he decides to drive Christian to the stadium in his vintage car. However, before Christian gets into the car, he notices several football awards in his garage and wonders if Christian should help him. The man reveals that he was very good at football when he was young, but one unfortunate day he was involved in an accident that fractured both his foot and his back, forcing him to give up everything. Despite this, he had moved on with his life until one day. How he won them despite his dislike of the game. Christian started practicing next door, and now he's fallen even more in love with the beautiful game. After a brief conversation, the two rush toward the game, and Dominic asks Frank about Christian. Frank tells Dominic that Christian is ill and won't be able to play, so the game starts without Christian. Christian finally makes it to the game, but he doesn't have his golden shoes, which makes him doubt himself. When the coach finds out, he gives Christian a pep talk and tells him that the team is weaker, which is understandable. That he can play without those shoes and that all he needs to do is believe in himself. The boy then enters the game, and keeping Dominic's words in mind, he scores his first goal, which boosts his confidence in the final minutes. He scores an impressive goal, much like his idol Cristiano Ronaldo, and leads his team to victory just as Kathleen arrives at the stadium. As she tries to enter the building on crutches, George approaches her from behind. After an emotional reunion, the couple enters to watch their son lift the trophy. The trophy after the game, the family finally gets together, and when Frank tries to intervene, Kathleen punches him in the face and tells her husband that she will explain later. A few seconds later, Mitch approaches them and offers Christian a spot on the international team. The movie ends with the winning team lifting the trophy.